Another is source matching, smart objects, source matching, and puppet warp. Okay? Yeah. All right, source matching. What did I say? Smart objects and puppet warp. Right. All right, so I'm going to begin with two images. Another thing such as a wing. I need a wing. And I want, bless you, I want my wing to be at the proper angle so that when I put it on my pig, because we're going to have pigs flying above the Golden Gate. I know, poetic. But I need to have the correct wing. And the correct wing in this case is probably something like gray in tonalities, not bright white, because I'm not going to get a lot of play on the bright white for my color. I'm kind of leaning towards this one because of the shape. Is that actually feathers? No, it looks like a drawing. So that's probably not what I'm going to use. This one's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I can, especially since it's on a transparent background, that's helpful. So I'm going to control click this one, and instead of copying it, I'm going to do a save image as and make sure that when I save it, it does save to the desktop with the PNG extension, which is going to maintain the transparency. That's already in the image. It's kind of big, but I think it will suffice. I'm sure you guys can find an image that you like for each one of these things. You're going to need a pig or an animal, a background that's moody, and a flying device. I'm going with wing as opposed to propeller. And I'm going to begin in Photoshop.
Just one wing?
Well, I can use it for multiple wings because I can flip it. Right. And I won't keep that. I have not saved my background yet. And I'll do that. Control click. And I'll copy image. And I'll toggle over to Photoshop and do a new. And paste.
Nice.
And save as. Bridge of pigs. Bridge of pigs. Okay. Such an interesting shadow on the water here. Resume recording and toggle back over. Get my pig image. Control click. Copy image. Toggle back to Photoshop. New file. And paste. And as it turns out, I believe my pig image is bigger than my background.
Yep.
And I'm going to do save as. Piggy. Piggy. Boom. And the first thing I'm going to do is talk about smart objects. I'll open the wing later on in the process, but for now, I'm just going to focus on the pig image. So let's see what I can do here. So I want to put the pig in the background. Okay. I know for one thing, I want to throw this background out of focus because I don't want it to compete with the pig. And it's likely one easy way to do that is to increase the size of this image. I could also just throw a blur filter on it of some kind, but to start with, I'm going to increase the size. So I'm going to go Image, image size and crank it up to 200% of the original size, both width and height dimension. And I'm really not so worried about preserving the details. I want a smoother enlargement. So I'm going to use bicubic smoother enlargement, 200%. And then zoom back. And File, Save As. Oh, I already saved it, yay. All right, so I'm just replacing. Now the next step that I want to do has to do with the smart image aspect of this. So I'm going to go to Piggy here. And yeah, I'm not going to copy. I'm going to do File, Place, Linked, and Piggy, Place. And if everything's gone right here, you can see that this is a little link on there. See the link icon? That says Smart Object Thumbnail. And that is because I placed it, not pasted it.
There's linked.
It is linked.
If I open that up on my laptop, I can't see it, right?
If you opened up what on your laptop?
The same picture. This is still linked. Can I open it on any device?
Well, it's linked to this Photoshop document.
What if it doesn't show the little icon?
Then it's very sad. No, I'll tell you what. I just double clicked on it and there it is. So it does work. But what you should be able to do is if I undo, sometime in the near future, undo. All right, I'll pretend I never did it. Goodbye. File. And it should be Place Linked. And pick Piggy. And hit the return key, and you should show up the icon if you did those steps. If it doesn't show up the icon, I don't know why. All right, so now it's linked. That's great. So if I want to, you know, I have it open. If you didn't have it open, if you didn't have the Piggy open, you would not get, when you click here, you would actually double clicking on that, and it's going right to Pig. You see that it's going to Pig?
Oh.
Should do that. If I take the eraser tool and I start to erase here, I'm just a little bit, okay, and I save it and I toggle back over to Bridge Piggy, look, it's starting to have a transparency to it. So this gets very interesting very quickly. Now there's a couple of things that you need to know about. One, why would you use this? One reason is that you could quickly comp up the position of the pigs without worrying too much about the background. So I want one over here. And he's going to be there. And that's how I want it, and return. Now I'm going to ask you to watch, okay? I'm going to make another layer of pig. He does have Piggy copy. He did end up in the exact same place as the other one, so I'm going to move this guy over, Command T, and I'm going to flip it this way and put him over here and rotate. Command T and rotate. So initially, I'm going to make this one way smaller. I'm just going to have two because otherwise it'll take me too long. All right. Initially, now the pigs are there, and I can tell whether or not I like that image with my background. That's one reason. Another reason is you may want to do a bunch of retouching on the original image and have it show up in the placed images. And or you may decide later on, and this is the really nutty part about it, which doesn't really seem like something you would want to do, but you might find out later that you do for some reason. You could change something in this image radically. You could even change this image as long as it has the same name and it's the same file. Everywhere in the other file where the content of the pig is would change. So if that doesn't make sense to you, I'll show you what I mean here. So I'm going to go and just grab something else very rapidly. Okay, and I was going to make a political statement, and I decided to back off from that. Command B, right? Command T. And now, if I looked at it over here and saved it, and I came over here, so that's a huge time saver. But I don't want it like that. So I'm going to trash this. Then I'm going to do my utmost to quickly erase the background on the pig image. So I'm going to zoom in and get my eraser tool because I like my eraser tool. I'm a fan of my eraser tool. I'm going to make the edge a hardness of 100. So it's a hard edge. And reduce the size. And I'm not going to get too hung up on the fuzzies around the pig body. I'm just going to crank out a quick clearing of the background. So my method is I'm going to get all the big stuff first. Quickly getting the big stuff.
How do you, if your background's white, how do you change it to transparent?
You have to make sure that your layer is not locked. So if your background is, yeah, you're going to double click on the layer name, and then it'll be like renamed layer 0 or something. If you're stuck and that doesn't work, tell me.
Got it.
Okay, great. And I could even crop this, which would be interesting to mention because if I crop this in like right up to the nose of the pig,
Can you do lasso tool?
you could. I'm going to do this first. Return and save, and then look at the other image. You can see, yeah, that's enter. So I entered the crop, and then I saved it. This is looking very strange because I have semi-transparency. And I'm trying to hack out the background here. Good. Okay, so now I'll zoom in. And yeah, I'm going to use my polygon lasso, and I'm going to race you. And delete. Oh, source matching. I was going to tell you about source matching. Very interesting thing called source matching. Source matching is not only the designer's choosing of the right images to make the composite elements match each other, but it can also be a Photoshop technique, especially when it comes to color, that will allow you to inject image color, will allow you to inject color from one image into another image. And I'm going to show you a technique for that. So I'm quickly hammering out here. And for the sake of boredom, I'm going to pause. There we go. I have the pig cut out, or I think I have the pig cut out as well as possible. So I'm going to create a new layer. And on the new layer that is now going to be behind the pig layer, I am going to drop a color behind the pig because this will give me a really quick idea as to how well I have selected my pig. I seem to have need of resetting my workspace. So I'm going to reset my space. Okay. And now I'm going to put black behind the pig layer. And I can see all the white that I didn't do a good job cleaning. With that in mind, my friends, okay, I'm going to go back to the pig layer, deselect. With the pig layer selected, I'm going to do this, load selection. And now the pig is selected, and I'm going to go to refine edge. Boom. Over here, I'm going to choose on layers. And then this is similar to what we did with the refine mask, but this is refining a selection. And I'm going to just choke it in a tiny bit.
Where did you get the refined edge again?
I will show you that again. So it is selected, and I selected it, if you recall here, I did select, load selection, layer 1, which is the pig layer, transparency. So now I have the pig selected. And then right here, up in the menu, at the top, that you may never have noticed before, or you saw it and you didn't know what to do with it, refine edge. And then I'm going to choose from the pop-down menu, on layers. And here I can then choose to smooth the edge. That's better. I can shift it to choke it in a little. And I did. I choked it in -8, 9%, -100%. Okay. I'm changing the smoothness now, and now I'm changing the smoothness back again. And the shift edge is a negative number, depending on how close your selection is. So if it's shift edge -100, and I'm going to output to a selection, click OK. And what is selected is the pig. I want to select the opposite, select inverse, and then I'll just, because this is really the purpose of this, the goal of this is to have a better, cleaner edge for the smart object. I'm going to leave the toes alone. I'm going to go along the back here. I'm getting some kind of weird situation there at the top of the back. I'm not happy about that, so I'm just going to ignore that area. And here I'll get that under the chin part that was bugging me, and this part of the ear, and deselect. And now save it. I probably could have done a little bit more around this edge, but I'm going to look at the other artwork, and oh, got to remove that background. I forgot to go back to the piggy and throw this, or hide this layer. I'll just trash it. Yes. And save again. Save. And flip over again. Boom. Yeah, that'll do it. I mean, I could clean up this little pork chop back here a little better. This little leg. It's not a pork chop. It's not nice. It's not nice. All right, I'm going to zoom in. Okay. And I'll just do that with my lasso. Honestly, I could be more careful, but I'm not because of time. All right, and one more time. I don't want to be too picky. Good enough. All right, now I'm going to get rid of the black background, and yes, I'm deleting that layer, and then I'm saving Command S, and I'm going over to the pig bridge image where we are now waiting for you. And I will save again. One of the advantages of this smart sorry, I couldn't talk while I was saving. One of the advantages also of the smart layers is that if you resize this, bigger, smaller, it will not lose quality. And normally in Photoshop, if you have an object that you have change the size and rechange the size and rechange the size, in other words, keep on doing that, you're going to lose quality. But in this case, if I make this bigger and I hit return, it stays sharp. If I make it smaller again, I am not losing any quality at all because it's not really resizing this image at all. It's using a proxy or a placeholder, a stand-in. Okay, make sense? It's not really changing the pixels of this image. The pixels of this image are held in Piggy PSD.
If you do it in Command T.
If I do Command T, right. Okay, so I'm happy with the pigs. I think they're awesome, and I want to go on to the next step. So the next step here is I want to be able to change these pigs without really now changing the main image. So there's a couple of ways that you can do this. If you really feel like you need to keep the original pigs, you can do that, but there's a point at which sometimes you want it to not be a smart object anymore. So it was helpful having it as a smart object when I was cutting it out and deciding on the size, because I can infinitely change the size and not lose any quality. But now that I have the objects, the sizes I want, and I've placed them where I want them to be, changes that I make to them now could affect each other. So I want to talk about that a little bit. So
they're already smart objects.
They are smart objects, and you can see that by these two icons here. That's the smart
they're
object
linked.
icon. They're linked, or smart objects. So you are working with smart object. If I go to Edit and I choose Puppet Warp, okay, I get a mesh over everything. I know, it's scary. All right, and if I didn't do anything to it and I really wanted to zoom in, so I'm going to go Command plus and then space bar, and you can see I should still blur my background some more because it's got some weird stuff on it. And now what I'm going to do is, with Puppet Warp applied, so I'll press escape so I'm not in Puppet Warp. I'm on the top piggy. And again, I'm going to go, making sure that that one is the targeted one, I'm going to go Edit, and then I'm going to choose Puppet Warp. Once you have Puppet Warp in place, it makes a mesh. It says here, Show Mesh. Notice Show Mesh. If I now press the key, I want to, I didn't have to press any key. Or did I? No. I now put a pin there. A pin is like a holder. And I put a pin, I'm going to undo these pins. Really. I'm going to undo that pin. I'm going to undo that pin. I'm going to click on that pin to delete it. It's very hard to see these pins. I apologize. They're very small. So I'm going to start this over again because I don't like where I put the pins. And I'm having a hard time removing that pin, although now I'm not. So never mind. Option click to delete the pin. So I'm going to click here to add a pin.
How do you get the pin?
You just put the Puppet Warp tool, you just put the tool on top of,
Yeah.
and does it not show you a,
No. Just shows me the black arrow.
interesting,
Oh.
click and see what happens.
Okay. I'm
Excellent, you're the best. All right, so now I've put in 4 pins, 5 pins around what I consider to be the neck, and one here under the chin. And now I'm going to put one on the nose. Now I'm going to click on this pin, and I'm going to start tilting the head up.
What's the aim with this? Oh my god.
He's sniffing. These feet look like they're standing on something. They need to be relaxed and loose. So I'm going to click on here to stick it. This sticks it down. Make sure it doesn't move. And if I click and add a pin, and then I click in the center of the pin, now he's light on his feet. Okay, pin, 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 select, and he's loose. Pin, pin. To anchor, I'm setting up these pins. Okay, I must have clicked too close to that other pin. I'm still not clicking far enough away, and now I'm not clicking on the mesh, and now I've made a mesh, good mesh choice, And now this, he's like, la la la. Okay? Even his tail, I could make this tail go out more. Okay? And that's Puppet Warp. When you like the way it is, press return. That does not change the original.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
So bizarre, right? Also, Command T. And if I do this for a second, he looks like he's not warped. And I rotate it, and then I press return, and now he's warped again. But now he looks like he's standing on the stand-in of the bridge. That's not going to work for me, so I'm going to move him up.
But that's so cute.
Okay.
Let him be on the bridge.
And now I'll select the other layer.
He's so cute.
And again, I'm going to go to Edit, Puppet Warp. And I'm going to move him up. You know, or not. I'm going to add pins to this guy. Tilt his head up slightly. He's not quite as snifferific as the other guy. But he's flying free here. He's like Super Pig. I knew you'd like this. Okay. And that guy is just sort of going for it. Return, move tool, and move him up. It's kind of creepy, but it's fun. All right, so I'm going to put him here, and I'm going to save my file. Stopping the recording for now.